PR Connections Radio presents.
And welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli, and this is a fantastic episode. We are going to be discussing the 2023 MLB All-Star Game. And, of course, I got to bring on two people who are very knowledgeable about the world of baseball as we are discussing it. But until then, I want to give a shout-out to the sportsangle.com. We do almost everything on that site. We write articles, we upload our audio, video, everything we have, you name it. So, the sportsangle.com, we did an article recently about the MLB power rankings. You want to know who is number one? Go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Also, for all audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify, our shows are uploaded to there as well. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any episode of The Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Speaking of which, go to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Check out all of the fantastic shows on there, including this one here, The Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Now, if we're going to get started, I have to have my guests introduce themselves, let everyone know who they are. So 27 rings, I'm going to start with you. Introduce yourself to everybody. Tell everyone who you are.
Hey, man, I'm Jay Johnson. Everybody calls me Stacks. I'm a big Yankees fan, as you can tell. You see the banner, 27 rings. Happy to be here, man. We were originally on Off the Basis podcast. We chose to get called up to the big time, so we're here.
There you go. And then, Joseph, what about you? Tell everybody about yourself.
My name is Joseph Altman. I live in Florida. I'm originally from New York. Like Stacks, I'm a big-time Yankees fan. I'm a baseball savant, you could say. I used to be a sports writer when I was in college, so it's kind of like I've got a little gift for this. I love baseball. It's my passion. It has been since I've been a kid. And as I'm getting old, I want to express it more.
Absolutely. And as we are going to be talking about the 2023 MLB All-Star Game, we could talk about the AL West, the NL West, like we normally do. We start out with the West Coast, then we go to the East, and then we break down the unfortunate Central. But I will say that since we have two Yankees fans here, we might as well kick it off by going to the Bronx and talking about the Bronx Bombers, and more importantly, the two players who have gone to the All-Star Game from the New York Yankees, and that is Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole as the representatives for the New York Yankees. Now, Jay, we were talking a little bit before the show went on the air, and I mentioned that starting lineup for the New York Yankees, it's missing something right now, and it's very obvious that they're missing a certain somebody, and that was Aaron Judge. So, man, I just say that starting lineup, they need him back right now, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's no offense. And I didn't really think that we would miss him this much, but we can't score any runs at all. Like you said earlier, last year it was the pitching that was the problem, but now it's the exact opposite. We're losing games 2-1, like I said, and it's just it's abysmal. I mean, you have Josh Donaldson, who's the bringer of rain, but he's batting sub-2, which is ridiculous. I don't know. I feel like they should kind of make a change and just make one permanent catcher instead of juggling between Higashioka and Trevino. But I don't know. It's scary. It's a scary looking thing.
And Joseph, what about you? I mean, Aaron Judge, obviously, him being injured, that whole situation with the Yankees, but really that offense has just looked awful without Aaron Judge in the lineup.
Yeah, so what I've been saying lately is their offense has been offensive. It's offensive to watch. Like, it's literally it's one of the, they got one hit by Jamison Tyon, dude's got a 7 ERA tonight. Now, Tyon, he has something to play for. Don't get me wrong. They didn't bring him back, so I'm sure he wanted to shove it to Brian Cashman, which I don't blame him. But even so, it's like, all right, first off, you got Cashman making the lineup basically every day. I don't care what Boone says. Cashman's definitely putting his input on that lineup. I don't like the way it's constructed. The way Volpe's been hitting, they finally put him at the top of the lineup. It's about time. You're not getting much out of DJ LeMahieu, but he's playing hurt. He's hurt. Rizzo's hurt. That's the problem is injuries. These dudes are older. You're one of the oldest teams in baseball. What do you expect? You got dudes that are basically going for the AARP card soon, and unfortunately, it's catching up to them. And they have dudes they could bring up. It's just they're log jammed by these old guys. Now, hopefully they can make some moves. Maybe find a way to get Donaldson out of there. Peraza seems like he's back healthy, so maybe he get a call up. But really, it's going to be hard to save your season unless Judge comes back. That's really it.
Now, if I do have to give props to New York Yankees on anything, it is their pitching, however, because their pitching is doing better than a lot of people believed it was going to be. Of course, Domingo Germán doing what he did against the Oakland A's, perfect game. That was incredible by Domingo Germán, and Garrett Cole being the all-star representative. But Carlos Rodon coming back, having his first start after signing that massive deal with the New York Yankees. And I'm going to be honest, he really did not look that great in his first start. His first start back, there really wasn't a lot of positives I could mention with the Carlos Rodon start. And do you feel the same way about it? I mean, Carlos Rodon making his first start back as a Yankee, being in those pinstripes against the Cubs?
I thought he pitched okay. I will say, because of how bad the offense is, he felt like it looked like he was trying to be perfect. And that's kind of what got him in trouble today. I mean, to only give up 2 runs, and he threw 69 pitches. The one pitch to Bellinger, I'm sure he want back. But, you basically these pitches feel like they got to be perfect every single time out. I mean, yeah, you have a nice bullpen, but if you're not scoring runs, it don't matter. And with, Germán had that start. He had the perfect game, and he was awful before that. The real thing I'm worried about is Severino. I feel like they should give him one of those, tired arm DL stints, because unfortunately he's out of options. He can't go down to the minor leagues. So maybe a tired arms, maybe pitch a little bit in Tampa with the Gulf Coast kids. But honestly, I have no idea what they're going to do with these guys. How about you, Stacks?
And what about you, Jay?
I mean, from a young age, you're taught good pitching beats good hitting, right? But also, good hitting is a pitcher's best friend. So when being that Rodon came back today is just like, all right, like Joe said, he's trying to be perfect. But if you're down, you try to start pinpointing your pitches instead of just throwing. And when you start throwing, you start missing your spots. When you start missing your spots, you hang one. When you hang one, it gets turned to a souvenir. You see what I'm saying? It's a domino effect. And that's pretty much what happened is just if you don't have the run support and you're asking somebody who just came off injury to be perfect, it's a catastrophe waiting to happen.
No, I agree on that front. I feel like with the Yankees, the pitching. Now, obviously, the trade deadline is coming up. All right. End of the month, it is a tradition as a baseball fan. July 30th, July 31st. That is some of the best days to be a baseball fan, seeing who gets traded, who gets dealt. Is there one player, it doesn't matter what position it is there one player that comes to mind with both of you being Yankees fans? I'll start with Jay and then go to Joseph. But is there one player that you believe the Yankees could go out and get, and you will say, you know what, we got to get this guy. We'll sell the whole farm system. We'll sell everything possible to have him become a Yankee?
Say his name, Joe. Say his name.
Okay, Ohtani.
No, absolutely not. I would love that. But Nolan Arenado, it's his contract year. He's already on a team that's struggling. why not put him in pinstripes? I believe Josh Donaldson sucks. So like, you have a platinum Glover, and he adds power and pop to your lineup. He's an extra bat. He's a great player. And if you're trying to make a run, cool. Trade for him and then throw the money at him in the offseason. It's not rocket science.
It's crazy. You mentioned the St. Louis Cardinals. Hey, look, me being Cubs fan, I hate the St. Louis Cardinals. All right, I'm happy to see what's going on in St. Louis. Trust me, this is the first time in 85 years that are not relevant at all heading in July. But when it comes to Jack Flaherty, it really feels like he's the only guy that might actually get traded. Nolan Arenado, that would be a pipe dream. I definitely would love to see it happen. But Jack Flaherty really seems like that guy that might get dealt in St. Louis. Yeah. And then from the Angels, everyone keeps mentioning Anthony Rendon, and I'm just like, I don't think anybody would trade for him even if they wanted to. Like, his contract is absolutely abysmal. His stats are terrible. He keeps on getting injured. Like, who would want Anthony Rendon at this point?
Nobody.
Nah, not a team I could think of.
No, definitely not the Yankees, even though they do have Josh Donaldson. So who knows? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess. Blonde traded for the blonde. Hey, I don't know.
Now, getting into the All-Star game. Now, we're going to start in alphabetical order, so we'll go down from top to bottom. So the Arizona Diamondbacks out there in the NL West, of course, Corbin Carroll, who is a NL MVP candidate, the guy who is NL Rookie of the Year, pretty much the runaway at this point to win Rookie of the Year, him getting the starting nod for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, what does that really speak in terms of volume? I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll came up late at the end of last year and has really turned it up a notch this year. He's just been incredible.
I love that team. I'm a big fan of what I saw from them. I predicted them to do well this season. I've been on that bandwagon since before the season. Honestly, what's crazy is I thought Alec Thomas was going to have a big impact on this team, and they honestly haven't needed him. But Corbin Carroll's been as advertised. Dude's a great player. I love the slick moves they made in the offseason, especially getting Gurriel, trading away Varsho. It just seems like they made smart baseball moves.
Yeah, they even brought an extra outfielder and Kyle Lewis as well. I mean, he's a guy who's coming off the bench at times.
Yeah, he's not a bad play either. I mean, that's a former Rookie of the Year who just been hampered by injuries. So to put him in as like your fourth outfielder, I mean, this team is vastly improved from last year just by just a couple of slick moves, and they seem like they got a really good.
And Jay, I will ask you, Zach Gallen, is there a possibility that he will become the first Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher since Randy Johnson almost 20 years ago to start the MLB All-Star game?
It looks like it. I mean, can you think of a pitcher that's better?
I can't, actually.
I can't. I can't. I mean, he's dealing up there. It's automatic. It's an automatic win. Like, there are certain players that you know, especially when it comes to pitchers, there are certain pitchers you just know you're going up and it's just going to be a bad day. He's one of them. Like, man, the kid's good. And again, going back to Corbin Carroll, jeez, that's enough. You were right, Joseph. You were right, Joseph. On the other show, Joseph, in the beginning, Joseph said that Arizona was going to make a splash, and we laughed at him. It's not funny now.
Beginning of the year, I had Arizona with 88 wins. I had them as the last wild card spot in the National League. So I will take all my credit, by the way, because I had them as the last wild card spot. So
I probably would have laughed at you too.
Yeah. All right, and by the way, Los Angeles Dodgers. We're gonna talk about them later, but hey, they're slowly creeping up now. Like, that momentum in July and August, the Dodgers are known for. Well, they're doing it again. So don't be surprised if by late July, early August, the LA Dodgers are leading the NL West again. But anyway, as we are talking about MLB All-Star Game conversation here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here with Jay and with Joseph. And this team has so many all-stars on it that I almost ran out of room trying to create this. But, of course, the Atlanta Braves, the ATL.
Yeah.
I mean, this team pretty much had half their roster go to the All-Star game. And Sean Murphy, Orlando Arcia, Ronald Acuna Jr., I mean, those guys are going to be starting for the Atlanta Braves. But, shout out to Matt Olson. He's been reliable. He's been a consistent first baseman for a lot of years now. Mm-hmm. And then you had the rest of the infield to complete the whole set, Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley. So with the Atlanta Braves, what kind of statement does this make? That they pretty much had their entire infield and had 2/3 of their outfield go into the All-Star game. I'll start with Joseph.
That team is unbelievable. They're the best team in baseball for a reason. I mean, in the beginning of the year, everybody was talking about the Rays, but the real team to look for was the Braves, honestly. They're just stacked top to bottom, and they run so well. Whoever decided to bring up Arcia and send Grissom down, you had to have balls to make that move.
Well, that's AA for you.
I'm just saying, it's like, they gave Grissom, what was it, 7 or 8 years before he even made the
deal.
Before he made the major leagues, and he can't even sniff the team right now. The dude that's replaced him is an all-star. Like it's just moves like that. They got everybody locked down for so long. It's like, all right, and the sneaky move that they made the last couple of years was Olsen. Everybody thought it was going to be the end of the road when Freeman went to LA. Well, guess what? They got a younger player who's probably going to last a lot longer.
And they really got him for pennies on the dollar, considering what they gave to Oakland. I mean, 2 of the 3 players in that trade are not even there anymore.
Yeah, and it looks like Oakland is their farm team. Look at Sean Murphy.
I mean, if we really want to crack jokes, I feel like all MLB teams not named Oakland use them as their farm system. So.
You're right.
I mean,
we didn't work out.
Up to this year,
Frankie Montas,
our farm team. But
and then you had Trevino too. Don't forget about Trevino.
Sonny Gray.
Yeah. And I will mention there is a 1-2 punch in terms of pitching right now. Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder, they got to the All-Star game, and it's really incredible seeing how the Atlanta Braves have once again found that 1-2 combo in terms of starting rotation. I mean, that really brings back to the old school Atlanta Braves.
Addicts. But I mean, again, there are certain guys you just go up against, and like when it comes to Strider, geez, he saws off so many batters. Just that inside fast, and he knows how to paint it well.
He works the strike zone. Yeah, he works.
Yeah, it is just like, all right. So as a batter, if you're sitting there, you're like, okay, he'll go curveball. And then inside fastball, and it looks like a melon, but it's so high, and you're late.
Yeah.
And it's just, now you're talking to yourself. Like, what am I doing? It's just, he's got the right combination of stuff, and he locates it well. And that's a deadly combination for a pitcher.
And I will say that if somebody doesn't have the Atlanta Braves, at least in the NLCS picture, you're crazy. Because I think they're going to make at least the NLCS, maybe the World Series at this point.
You ain't get no argument out of me, man.
Yeah, they're the front runners.
Yeah, well, these next 2 teams, they're in your division. But once again, we're going in alphabetical order here. And this team has really gone over the top in terms of performance. I mean, this is a team that has 4 All-Stars into the All-Star game, and that's the Baltimore Orioles. All right, that's a team that for 4 or 5 years was struggling towards the bottom of the farm system. I mean, they were, really not doing well, but then they build up that farm system, they build up the talent, and now they are now in MLB. That starting lineup is looking clean, and Adley Rutschman is a huge part of that. I mean, he's really become one of the best catchers in baseball. Austin Hayes has done a solid job in the outfield. and then that relief, the bullpen really becoming one of the best bullpens in baseball, thanks to Felix Bautista. So for the Baltimore Orioles, and I'll start with Joseph, when it comes to the Baltimore Orioles, do you see them keeping this going for the rest of the year, or do you expect them to do a little bit of a fall off once we get towards the last month of the year?
I think they're going to get better. I think because they keep calling up these kids, and they're going to perform. Honestly, the one who really hasn't performed they called up is Gunnar Henderson. He's been a little bit of a disappointment this season. But as long as the pitching can hold, they'll be fine. The best thing that happened to that organization is they moved left field back like 30 feet in that ballpark. Because now you're going to get pitchers to go to that team. And now you could actually pitch. You know, you don't have to pitch for the strike at all time. You can let yourself use the fielders and not worry about a home run to left field. You know, that was the problem with Gleyber Torres. He would kill them because he would use the short left field to his advantage. But now the left field's back. You're not getting as many home runs. Your pitchers are pitching better. And they got talent. That it seems like every guy they brought up has performed. And Adley Rutschman, he's probably the best catcher in the game right now, if not.
Baseball.
Yeah, and the dude is a catcher version of hitting wise of Mark. He's a catching version of Mark Teixeira. That the way that dude hits, he's impressive, man.
Baltimore is a scary. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, he is very impressive, but I was gonna go to Jay next and say, what do you think about Baltimore?
Baltimore is a scary team. Like, let's start with Adley Rutschman. For him to be so young, the way he commands the game behind the plate it's like he's a 10-year vet. But he still has the youth. Like, he can gun you from his knees at second. Like, that's and then it's just like he's just not a defensive catcher. It's just all right, he gets up to the plate and then he bombs you. He's the real deal. He's the best catcher in baseball. But as far as Gunnar Henderson, he's a disappointment, but he's putting it together. He reminds me of Michael Harris. Like I said, the game when Michael Harris when he mentally catches up to the game, it's going to be a stud because you see flashes of it. Gunnar Henderson will put 450, and then you're just like, what? How do you do that? You know, it's just the game has to just slow down for the kid. But as far as Felix Bautista, triple digits on a gun is just hard to hit.
I mean, he's become one of the best closers in baseball. If you do fantasy baseball,
that's just what it is. Like triple digits, you can hit triple digits on a gun and you can locate it. I mean, good night.
Yep, signed, sealed, and delivered. There you go.
Yeah.
And moving over to the Boston Red Sox, a team that I feel like so many people love, especially Yankees fans. Y'all love the Red Sox, right? Now, I will say when it comes to Kenley Jansen, he is their only representative because there are so many teams, there's going to be a reoccurring theme, that only got one representative, but they could have gotten one more. And I'm going to make an argument here that Rafael Devers was a snub. All right, he should have been in the All-Star game. I don't care if you're a Yankees fan or a Red Sox fan. Rafael Devers has had a pretty good year. I think he should have gotten in the All-Star game. Jay, I'll start with you. Do you agree on that? I mean, I think Kenley Jansen, he's nice and all, but Rafael Devers should have been their representative.
I give credit where credit is due. I don't care. Like, I love this game. I mean, I love the Yankees, but ultimately in the end, Rafael Devers definitely should have been in the All-Star game. He puts fear in my heart.
And Garrett Cole.
Hard to do. And Garrett Cole.
And Garrett Cole's.
So, I mean, he definitely got snubbed.
And Joseph, do you agree that he really should have been the representative, not Jensen?
He's not the only one on that team that did get snubbed. Honestly, Verdugo's their biggest snub.
Yeah.
Verdugo's their biggest snub.
That's fair.
That is fair to say.
I mean, I like Devers. I love Devers. He's the babyface assassin. But, nah, man, Verdugo, that dude, he's having a great year. If you look up his numbers and look how his fielding's been, he's their all-star. Kenley Jansen got a Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's call it what it is. He got his 400 save this year, and that's the only reason why he's in that game. That and I think he was voted in by the players.
Yeah. And we do have a Yankees fan in the chat. I do appreciate everybody watching around the world. And they're talking about how the Yankees are their team. Well, hey, you got 2 Yankees fans here on the show as well. So there's a lot of Yankees love on the show tonight. There you go. And since we're going alphabetical order as we're talking about the MLB All-Star Game here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com, voice of new media, moving over to my Chicago Cubs, Justin Steele, Marcus Stroman, and Dansby Swanson as the representatives for the Chicago Cubs. Now, Dansby got injured, so he's not going to be playing in the game, but he was voted into the All-Star Game. But, man, the Chicago Cubs have really done well in terms of pitching, and Justin Steele has been a surprise of this year. I mean, this guy, 9-1 to begin the year. I mean, this is a guy who really has turned around his career. Not even 2 years ago, there was a possibility of him, floating back and forth between Iowa and Chicago. Now he has definitely solidified himself with the Chicago Cubs. And Marcus Stroman, I remember all the memes on Twitter when he signed with the Cubs talking about how he was a Bugatti in a rundown house, stuff like that. But Marcus Stroman has definitely been a really good pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. I think he did start, 8-2, or was it 9-3 to begin the year, something insane like that. But when it comes to Steele and Stroman, they definitely have made the Cubs a really good team. I'm not going to make an argument for my favorite player, Nico Hoyner, even though he is my favorite Cubs player. He was not an all-star this year. But, Joseph, I'll start with you. What do you think about the Cubs? I mean, 5 games under 500. They're supposedly selling at the trade deadline, but they're only 6 games out of the division.
So that division is winnable, but I can see why they want to sell. Now, Stroman could get a nice return for you guys this year. Mm-hmm. I'm not the biggest Stroman fan. I think he's overrated. But we were talking about how you thought Galen wanted to be you wanted Galen as a starter in the All-Star game, right?
Right.
I would make a case for Justin Steele.
See, I wanted to put my bias aside, though. I would say, me being a fan, I'll take my bias aside. Yeah.
So I've been saying this for a couple weeks now. That's the guy I want to see start the All-Star game. And I think Stroman had said something today about it, actually, or yesterday in the papers. He was like, he's not going to pitch in the All-Star game. He wants Steele to start. And I'm thinking, I've been saying this for a couple weeks. That dude has been great. Yeah, Galen's been good too, but nobody saw Justin Steele coming. Nobody.
No one did. No.
If you told me in the beginning of the year that at All-Star break the Cubs will have 2 pitchers with 9 wins, I told you were lying. I knew Marcus Stroman would be good, but y'all are on pace. If y'all don't sell at the trade deadline, but y'all probably are because Joe makes sense, to have 2 pitchers with 15 wins. That's great.
Yeah.
And like Joe said, it's winnable. You're only 6 games back. So, I mean, if I was management, I wouldn't push all my chips in yet. But again, I can understand, you're definitely going to get a pretty penny for Stroman. But do you feel like it's worth it at this point? Or do you want to make a run?
Now, I really believe what is best for the long-term future of this team. So I actually believe selling at the trade deadline is what they should do. Now, if they were like a game or 2 back, I would say buy. But with them being 5 or 6, I would say sell.
Yeah, with how they struggle, was it the last 11 games? They're 3-8 or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that was the real telling point. But you know what though? You could trade Stroman, get a return, get guys who are major league ready, and with how bad that division is, you still might make a run.
Might be able to make it.
It's like the 2016 Yankees when they brought the baby Bombers. They barely missed the playoffs.
Yeah,
this could be like how the Cubs are this year.
No, that's true. That's definitely true. And we have to move on and talk about that other team in Chicago. They unfortunately exist. The Chicago Black Sox. The Chicago
Outside.
And Luis Robert, He's their only representative. And honestly, I don't think of anybody else that got snubbed from the Chicago White Sox. They have just been awful this year. I feel like that's kind of an agreed statement. There really isn't anybody else in the White Sox that you could even think of that even had a good season this year.
I'm so disappointed in Tim Anderson. So disappointed.
It's like he gave up on that team, man. When you watch him, he looks like a player that's given up and wants to be traded.
I mean,
I don't blame him. But it's a contract year for him. It's like that's why it disappoints me that he's having this kind of season. I mean, granted, he was oft injured, but that's the story of that whole team. It's injuries. It's like, you have Moncada is a walking injury.
Dylan Cease,
he's good. He's a good pitcher, but
I wish he was still in Chicago, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. What's it called? Eloy Jimenez is usually oft injured. The only reason he missed time this year was a freak thing with the appendectomy. Yeah. Robert's having a great season. He actually just hit a home run like a few minutes ago. That's
Freddie Freeman.
What?
I said Freddie Freeman started off, yeah.
But that team is just not. They were overrated. That team's not going to improve. I'm not sold on their new manager at all. With Kenny Williams still being the GM, that team is not going to be good for a while. The owner's not good. Like, that team's a mess.
That team was making progress, and I felt like the moment they had Tony La Russa as their manager, that's when it's really started all this.
Nosedive.
Yeah. Now, as we are talking about the MLB All-Star Game here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, this team is a huge surprise, not just because they're leading the division, but they only have one All-Star nominee, and that's the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds, their only representative is Edwin Diaz's brother, Alexi Diaz. And I will say, when it comes to Cincinnati Reds, I feel like there should be more than just one, especially with how well they've done this year. But I'll start with Jay. What do you think about the Cincinnati Reds?
The only reason why they don't have more All-Stars is because they brought up their players late. It's the only reason. De La Cruz he'll be an All-Star next year. McClain, he'll be an All-Star next year. So, I mean, they're a good team. It's just they just brought up their players late. I mean, do you really think for a second De La Cruz isn't going to be an All-Star next year? Like, come on.
If he does what he did this year, yes, he would be an All-Star next year.
Like, he's a 5-tool player. Like, he hit a ball to third. It wasn't even that deep in the hole, and he beat it. Like, it's just he's an anomaly. And then he has like an exit velocity off his bat of like 120. Like, that's crazy. Like, weird stuff like that. Like, do you see that every day? No.
And then Joseph, what about you?
It's tough because you have these guys who have some breakout seasons like Spencer Steer, or they would have had more All-Stars. It's just like I said, or like Stack said, they brought these guys up too late. I'm more than confident if Ellie De La Cruz was brought up like a month earlier, he'd be in the All-Star game.
It wouldn't even be close.
I'm honestly shocked he didn't make it from the players vote because he's so like loved now by the league.
Man,
because I've seen it before. It's not like that hasn't happened before.
Yeah, Puig about a decade ago. That's an example. Now I do have a comment here. Reds are my surprise team on the win side. Hey, they're a surprise to me as well. I mean, Cincinnati Reds, I thought maybe they'd have like 75 wins on the year, and there's a chance that they will win this division. So I think Cincinnati has really been a huge shock. Beginning of the year, Pittsburgh looked like they might run away with the division, and they cratered once they got to June. And Milwaukee, they looked like they had it for a little bit. Now they're just getting their inconsistency. That's starting to pop up now. So really, this is Cincinnati's division to lose. I mean, they're really in a driver's seat right now.
If Cincinnati makes it to the playoffs, they might be my pick. I think that team matches up very nicely with Atlanta.
Those
If they
games,
end up playing, that team matches up great with Atlanta.
did you see the games they played recently?
Yeah,
Those games were all close.
yeah. I'm telling you,
Um,
that might be the team. You catch fire at the right time.
and Cincinnati's doing this without their top two pitchers too.
Yes, they are.
Lidello and Green.
Hunter Green.
Yeah. Now, the other team from Ohio, the team that hasn't won anything since 1894, and that is the Cleveland Guardians. So you have Jose Ramirez and you have Emmanuel Clase, and I will give credit where credit is due. Jose Ramirez, it always feels like he's that type of player that he always puts up stellar numbers, but no one acknowledges it. Like, he'll put up really good numbers throughout the year. He'll get like third place or fourth place in AL MVP voting, and yet no one remembers it. So that's just me. Like he has all these good years, but no one remembers it.
Yeah, like I'll be reading it. It's funny because it's like at the end of the year, I read all of the top hitter stats, and I'm just like, huh? He did that. Fourth in the Silver Slugger, huh? When?
Like, to me, it was like Matt Holliday when he was in Colorado. Like, he always put up like stellar numbers, but no one cared because he was in Colorado.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I don't know. But, it's because it's Cleveland, I guess. Like, nobody really watches Cleveland play. I'm pretty sure he's a household name in Cleveland.
Oh, he definitely is. Yeah, he definitely
is.
But,
nobody really watches Cleveland play, which is kind of sucks. I need to, I'm going to watch Cleveland play tomorrow.
Someone did mention, what about Shane Bieber? And I felt like if it was maybe a few years ago, he would have been in the All-Star game, but his stats this year, that just didn't hold up.
It's not, especially going up against the players who did get voted in, he's not really touching them right now.
Yeah. Colorado Rockies. Now, this is only because you have to have at least one player to represent every team. Trust me, there are like 3 teams here that if it was actually that rule didn't apply, they would have nobody in the All-Star game. Colorado would be one of those 3 teams. They get their catcher. They get Elias Diaz. Any thoughts on this, Colorado Rockies? I mean, this is a team that has not been relevant for the last 5 years. But anyway, what do you think? Josh?
I mean, they had to put somebody in there, I guess. I mean, he's a decent defensive catcher. It's just, it's tough. That team, they're not run well. I mean, you spent all that money on Chris Bryant instead of keeping Arenado. I don't know. I wish
he was a Rockies fan growing up. That's the reason why he did it, because he had like a Rockies hat when he was a kid. So
yeah. I don't know. It's tough. That team is. I don't know. Honestly, I think MLB should get rid of the one All-Star from every team rule, but you're not going to. Unfortunately,
then it would be everybody from Atlanta would be on this team.
Yeah, it would just be 4 teams.
It would be the Braves versus AL.
I mean, it still might be more compelling than Elias Diaz being on the team. There's minor league players in the Brave system I'd rather see than Elias Diaz on the All-Star team.
For me, I mean, if I was picking somebody, well, this is another case of a certain player came up too late. I would have picked Nolan Jones.
Yeah, former Cleveland Guardian. He's now in Colorado.
Yeah, like I'd have picked Nolan Jones, but I don't know why they went with. I guess
they probably need the catcher.
I mean, the only person I thought of was maybe Ryan McMahon, but his batting average was nowhere near what it needed to be.
What's Nolan Jones batting? Nolan Jones is batting .301 right now. Like, I don't know. Cleveland. I mean, it's Colorado. What do you
it's Colorado.
That's the answer.
I mentioned how there's like 3 teams on here that really shouldn't have an All-Star, but they had to. Detroit is also on that same level. Michael Lorenzen, the guy who used to hit home runs while pitchers were allowed to. Michael Lorenzen. Like, honestly,
I mean,
this is the best you can do in Detroit. Not Spencer Torkelson. Yeah, you couldn't give us Javi Baez with him striking out at every at bat. Like,
I would
come
have
on.
rather seen Erod than him. Eduardo Rodriguez, I'd rather see just on his little stretch alone. But I know he's hurt. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's the All-Star game. They probably wanted the novelty of somebody who could hit and pitch. So I get it. Do I agree
So
with it?
we do have Twitter, by the way, at Sports Angle on PR. Somebody asked about the All-Star Game jerseys. Do you prefer the current system where everyone wears the same jersey, or do you prefer what it was back in the day where everyone wore their actual jerseys to the All-Star Game?
So,
Which one you want to go, Joe?
Joe?
all right. So I thought the All-Star jerseys was only for like the home run derby. If I recall, I thought the All-Star jerseys are still your regular game in the actual game.
So, all right. So the way it used to be was they used to have the custom jerseys for the home run derby, and then
Yeah.
during the actual game would be their normal jerseys.
I thought that's how it still was going.
No,
Did they change
the
it this year?
MLB starting in about 2017, 2018, they have everybody wearing these custom jerseys during the All-Star game. But during the home run derby, they wear their actual jerseys.
I mean, I'd rather see in the actual game that they wear their real jerseys and have the All-Star jerseys during the home run derby, the batting practice, and all that. That's my preference.
The way it used to be then, pretty much.
Yeah. See, I do like how they do the hats, though.
Yeah.
I don't mind the hats if they wear like the special hats during the All-Star game. That's cool.
Like, for example, last year, and I only mentioned this because I remember off the top of my head, last year the NL wore these like dark charcoal jerseys, and then the AL wore these white with gold in it. So that's what they've been doing for the All-Star games. The team that wears like dark, and then one team that wears white.
Little Mookie.
So,
and
then what about you? Do you prefer what it is now, or would you like to go back to the old days where everyone wore their original jerseys?
I like the old days. I mean, you love your team, so you want to see that jersey in the All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's he's a Yankee. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easier, especially explaining to people who only watch the All-Star game. Certain people don't watch, baseball all season, but a lot of people watch the home run derby and the All-Star game. So you'd be like, okay, maybe sit next to your girlfriend. Your girlfriend's like, hey, does he play for your team? Yeah, because you see the Yankee jersey. It just brings more eyes onto the sport in the certain regions of it.
I actually wish they would go back to doing what the NBA did. Like, the NBA, they used to wear their jerseys in the All-Star game, but now they all wear these custom ones. So I really think MLB, NBA, I mean, heck, even the NFL, I feel like, the whole Pro Bowl, get rid of these stupid jerseys that everyone has to wear. Just wear your normal jerseys. Like, come on now. So, getting back into baseball, that was a great question, by the way. The Houston Astros, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, and Framber Valdez, they are the All-Star representatives for the Houston Astros. And since I have a friend who I know watches this show, I have to ask this. What's the pronunciation? Is it Yordan or Yordan?
Yordan.
Yordan. Okay.
And the Y is pronounced with a J.
Yeah.
It's Jordan.
Yeah. But with the Houston Astros, they're the reigning World Series champions, and it really feels like they've been a disappointment this year. But despite that, they're still in contention to win the AL West. They have a trio of players making the All-Star game. Jay, I'll start with you this time. What do you think about Houston? Because this team really is in a weird limbo where they're not performing terrible, but they're not performing dominant either.
Houston scares me. If there's one team that I'm afraid of, it's the Houston Astros. Because here's how it usually goes. Houston, they kind of suck during the season. Oh, they can't possibly repeat. Oh, they sneak into the playoffs. Oh, they're in the World Series. They win another one. Like, I don't know. It's just that team. That's just always a dangerous team. they're always going to be. Jordan Alvarez, he hits the cover off the ball. Kyle Tucker is a stud. Like it's like they don't miss a beat. So I mean, I can sit there and say, they're not going to make it, but lo and behold, come October, the wild card game, and they're in.
The only parallel I have for that, by the way, Jay, like a team that would like sneak into the postseason, were very under the radar, and then once they got to the postseason, they just put it on 100 cylinders. Was like the Kansas City Royals, like in the mid 2010s. Like those 2 years they went to the World Series, nobody was considering them at all. And then they got to the postseason, and then all of a sudden they kicked it up a notch.
I told you, it's all about catching fire at the right time.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised. It's when it comes to the playoffs, it's more of momentum than it is anything. Anybody in any playoff setting can tell you, whether it's basketball, NCAA, it's the momentum. If you have the chemistry and everything's clicking at the right time, you're unbeatable. Baseball humbles you really fast. Like you think, we're going to crush this team, and then they sweep you, and it's just like, how did that happen? They're better put together. They're better team chemistry wise on the field.
And since somebody asked this question, I'll answer it before we go to Joseph. With you being born in Houston, I was only there for like 2 seconds. Why are you not an Astros fan? Simple, because they're a bunch of cheaters. That's why. The Houston Astros are a cheating organization. So no,
y'all hear that
I'm not
noise?
an Astros fan. I am not an Astros fan at all. I liked Biggio. I liked Bagwell back in the day. Don't get me wrong. Those guys were legends. But the team you have now, after what they did in 2017, no, I couldn't do it. But Joseph, what about you? What do you think about the Houston Astros? What do you think about their season so far?
Hey, Joseph, what was that sound?
It's called banging on a trash can. I think Doug Funny made a song about that on Doug. But anyways, they'll be fine. They're actually playing better of late. I went to 2 of the games where they played the Cardinals in St. Louis, and that team could turn it on quick with that offense. Losing Altuve is going to suck for them, but honestly, I think they're fine. Their pitching's got to come around a little more. I thought losing Garcia to Tommy John was going to be a big one, and losing Musgrove was going to – not Musgrove, the guy from Tampa. He's from this area.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Well, the long hair guy.
Yeah.
That's what McCullers. Lance McCullers. Yeah, being without him, but they always find a way. Dusty pushes the right buttons. I got to give him credit, even though I'm not the biggest Dusty fan. I think they'll find the way. Even if they don't win the division, they're still the team to beat in the American League, regardless if they're in division or as a wild card team. It's the same old song with them. I think Texas is going to come back down to earth. Their pitching isn't how it's been. So we'll see. Give it a few weeks.
Yeah. I will give props to only one player from Houston, and that's Jeremy Pena. He has definitely become this next up-and-coming guy for the Houston Astros. In fact, there's been all these reports about them making Alex Bregman expendable. And I'm like, hey, if they do, I know there's going to be a team that's going to take him. So
I'd take him in a heartbeat.
So if the Patriots cheated, is that why you're not a fan? Oh, exactly. I mean, why would I be a Patriots fan? Like, honestly, if you're not from the Northeast, I don't understand why you would be a Patriots fan. Just being honest. Like, I really don't understand a lot there.
I hate the Patriots. I'm a Jets fan.
Giants fan, so.
Yeah. Again, you'll get no argument from us.
Nope. And the Kansas City Royals are next. And I will put this very nicely. There shouldn't be anybody from the Royals in the All-Star game. I mean, this has been one of the worst teams to watch in baseball. Salvador Perez is there kind of as a legacy, kind of a loyalty kind of thing. Like Joseph mentioned with Kenley Jansen with the Boston Red Sox. you did something 5 years ago, so we're going to reward you now. Something like that. But yeah, Kansas City Royals, Salvador Perez. Any thoughts, anybody? Yeah, you want to jump? If anybody wants to go ahead, they can do it.
Yeah, I guess he's the best player on a horrible team.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't.
They couldn't have Zach Greinke get at least one at bat in the All-Star game. No?
I am not a Zach Greinke fan. You'll never hear me talk about Zach Greinke on this show ever.
I mean, what's the other what's the other choice? I mean, it's either. I mean, I would probably put Bobby Witt Jr.
Bobby Witt. I was about to say maybe.
I'll probably put Bobby Witt Jr. because
former UNLV Rebel Kyle Isbell, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I mean, at least Bobby Witt Jr. has 26 stolen bases.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that Salvador Perez is gonna beat in the race is a turtle. So, I mean, at least give me Bobby Witt. He's more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So that was about 2 minutes longer than it should have been. So we're going to move on to a team that actually knows how to win. And we're going to go to the the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Orange County, the San Andreas Fault, or whatever the heck they call themselves now. But I will say that having Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, of course, that was expected. I mean, they're two of the best players in baseball. That's no shocker. But Carlos Estevez as a reliever, that was a little bit of a surprise, though. I mean, he's done a pretty good job, but I didn't know if he was going to be all-star caliber. So congrats to him coming from the Anaheim Angels. I'll start with Joseph here. I mean, this really feels like this might be the last year that you see the Angels having a guy like Shohei Ohtani on that team. So they're trying to buy in. They're trying to go for it.
Oh yeah, I'm buying at the deadline. I'm gonna put my chips in the table. This is your chance. I'm not trading Shohei. You might as well. You haven't won anything in a while. I mean, Trout's made the playoffs, once in his career?
Yeah, it's been one appearance, 2014.
Yeah, so you got to do it. You got to put your chips on the table. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your chance. Shohei's gone at the end of the year. I'm pretty sure that's a given. And in terms of Estevez, I'm happy to see him make it. I mean, I thought there was a certain reliever I'd rather see make it that has really turned it around the last couple months, but I got no problem with Estevez.
Devin Esky?
Nah, I was gonna say Clay Holmes.
Oh, Clay Holmes. Okay.
He's been filthy the last 2 months.
Please, dear God, Mike Trout deserves so much more. Like, he deserves so much more than what he's been given these past 10 years.
Yep. You're year 11 now in MLB.
Oh, my gosh. How do you have the two best players in baseball and don't make the playoff? I don't know. If I was Mike Trout, if it doesn't happen this year, please trade me. Like, I've done all I can do for you guys.
I think the problem is they gave him that 10-year contract for I think $300-something million. I think back in 2018, 2017.
I will take a pay cut just to leave.
Oh, you're gonna do an Alex Rodriguez? Be like, hey, I'll take a pay cut.
Please, dear God, I don't care if you send him to Houston. No, please don't send him to Houston. But send him somewhere where he's going to see the playoffs. He's like the saddest player in sports.
Hey, send him to Miami. Sure, go ahead.
Maybe that may be the boost Miami needs. No, I don't know.
But I will say this. For the Anaheim Angels, for the management out there in Anaheim, Eduardo Escobar and Mike Moustakas is not enough. You need to acquire somebody more than just those two. And Brandon Drury's got hurt. Anthony Rendon's gotten hurt. Mike Trout's going to be out for 6 weeks. Please do not miss the playoffs again. For the love of all baseball fans,
I feel like it's going to happen. I can't shake I just can't shake it.
82 and 80. Watch him go 82 and 80 somehow. Finish one game above 500.
Bad luck slept rock. I swear, it just happens to him. The collapse just happens, and it's sad to watch. It's like just like a dumpster fire.
They're cursed.
Yeah, it's the
I mean,
weirdest
really, they are
thing.
though. They actually are cursed. Yeah.
I mean, look at.
So you mean to tell me if I don't know anything about baseball and you come to me and say, "Hey, we're going to give you two of the best players in this generation, not even just in this generation, in the past 15 years, we're going to give you two of the best players, and you're not going to make the playoffs," I'd laugh at you.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that would be like the Portland Trailblazers having Damian Lillard for 13 years. Oh, wait. They actually did that.
At least he went to the playoffs.
I think he made one Western Conference Finals appearance, if I remember correctly. I think he's made one. Now, we'll go to Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, we'll talk about the team that's starting to heat up now in LA. Freddie Freeman, all-star starter. Mookie Betts, one of the best players in baseball, all-star starter. JD Martinez has rejuvenized his career by going to LA, all-star starter. And then you got the catcher, Will Smith, and Clayton Kershaw, who definitely has stepped up a bit. I mean, if there was no restrictions and if there wasn't the one player for each team, there probably would be 8 players on this list from the LA Dodgers. I mean, they've had so many good players this year that missed the All-Star game. But, Jay, I'll start with you. This Dodgers team is really starting to take off in the month of July, and it's really good to see them have 5 players in the All-Star game.
The first 2 names were Mookie Betts and Freddie
Freeman.
They 2 of them have home runs right now. I'm watching the game as we're talking.
Yeah.
2 of them have home runs right now. Max Muncy almost hit. Like Max Muncy's another. Well, he's fallen off, but Max Muncy's another good player. LA has great players.
Chris Taylor, the ultimate utility guy. Chris Taylor.
Love that guy.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, LA is a great team, and they're catching fire too. They're catching,
just like
man.
Taylor Ward with the Anaheim Angels. He's like the definition of a utility guy. You know, he can play.
And again, who are the Dodgers playing today?
The Anaheim Angels, yeah.
The Anaheim Angels.
Yeah.
I can't make this up, man. I can't make it up.
Joseph, what about you? I mean, these LA Dodgers, 5 players going to the All-Star game. I mean, they're heating up. They're definitely heating up right now.
They got a good team. That might be one of the most underrated moves of the offseason was picking up JD Martinez on the cheap. He's making himself money.
That's what the Dodgers do, though. I mean, the Dodgers have been doing that for a decade now.
Yeah, they get rid of Justin Turner. They pick up JD Martinez. It just happens. But
Didn't they basically swap, though, if I think about it?
Yeah.
Didn't they pretty much just swap designated hitters?
Yeah, it's a swap, and it worked out more in their favor. But no, they're a great run organization. I have no ill will towards them. I mean, Mookie, the fact that he's also playing second base this year has been nice to see. It just
What's
seems
crazy?
like
That's his natural position, though. That's actually crazy.
That's what he came up. He came up as an infielder, so he's a natural. That dude's a natural. Anything he does, it seems like because he's a wonderful
great baseball player. He's a great bowler.
Yeah.
He's
gonna be a professional bowler after his career. Like that's insane to me.
Him and Chris Paul, those 2 will form a bowling league. You know.
Yeah.
Now the Miami Marlins. Now, Luis Ariz, he definitely got into the All-Star game. He is the starter for them. But shout to former Cub Jorge Soler for getting into the All-Star game. This guy's definitely had a great career. Won a World Series in Atlanta. Won a World Series with the Cubs. Now doing what he's doing in Miami. So I don't really see anybody that got left off from the Miami Marlins. I don't really see a snub from this team. But yeah, Ariz and Soler going to the All-Star game from Miami. Jay, what do you think about Miami? I mean, this has really been a surprise team. I don't think many people thought they'd be second place in the NL East heading into the All-Star break.
I didn't either. I mean, like you said, Jorge Soler has turned it on for them, and Arias is just a very, very good, consistent hitter, man. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know whether it's the Mets falling apart. Is that partial to blame?
I
Like,
mean, it
are they really
could, but I
good,
feel
or
like
is
the
the
pitching is
rest of the?
also working in their favor too.
Yeah, I'm about to say, are they really that good, or is it just that everybody else in the NL East are trash
And we'll
outside
find
of
out. We'll
Atlanta?
find out by September. We'll see.
Yeah,
And then Joseph, what about you? I mean, these Miami Marlins been a surprise team so far.
I knew they were going to be massive improved, but I didn't think this high. Now, I knew they had the pitching. Everybody made a big deal about them trading Pablo Lopez away to the Twins, but they didn't realize how good of a hitter Arias was. And he just brought it to another level. And that's been a key trade for them. But also the little moves like bringing in Segura, bringing in Gurriel. You got that veteran presence. You know, Perez. I was waiting for them to bring him up, and unfortunately they sent them down today. But he was a nice story for them. I mean, they're doing this without Alcantara really being Alcantara.
Yeah, he's really falling apart this year.
Yeah, the pitch clock is really bothering him a lot.
Shout out to the Oakland A's, soon to be Las Vegas A's, because you definitely have a part in this. Jesus Luzardo and AJ Puck have really turned Miami into a good team too. Those two pitchers.
Yeah, they're on the way up. They're on the come up, and they got more
Shout out to Starling
reinforcements.
Marte, by the way. I mean, they literally did that for half a year of Starling Marte, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, shout out to them. I mean, I hate their ballpark, but other than that, good for them.
Yeah, I took the stupid fish tank out of center field.
Yeah, I was happy about that. I was there for the World Baseball Classic, and I was unimpressed of that being in newer stadium.
Yeah, they should have kept the Orange Bowl, but anyway. Let's go to the Milwaukee Brewers. This will be the NL Central. Devin Williams, really good reliever. I mean, this is a very solid pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I know people are making the argument that any of the starting pitchers from Milwaukee could have gotten in the All-Star game. But I feel like Milwaukee, Devin Williams, he did get solidified. But Corbin Burns, he hasn't really been the same Corbin Burns he has been in the past. Freddie Peralta is solid, but I don't think he is a all-star caliber pitcher. So I think Devin Williams is good enough for Milwaukee. Joseph, what about you? What do you think about Milwaukee? Do they deserve more than one, or is one just enough?
I mean, I don't know how you could not put Devin Williams on that team. That dude is a beast. That screwball is insane. Now, one guy I will give a shout out, even though I don't know if I'd call him an all-star. I got to give some love to Christian Yelich, man. He's really turned it back around this season. He's not MVP Yelich, but man, he's having a renaissance, and I got to give respect to that, man. I always liked the guy, so for me, it's good to see.
And what about you, Jay?
Devin, yes, Christian Yelich should have been in an All-Star game. He's leading in every statistical category on that team outside of Adames for home runs. Every guy, highest batting average on the team, most RBIs on the team, most doubles on the team, most hits on the team. Like, what more do you have to do? If we're going by team, all right, if you have to pick one person for the team, are you going to pick Devin Williams, he's great, but you have to make an argument, the guy who's leading every statistical category on that team, you have to pick him up. Come on.
I mean, there you go. I mean, that's just a really situation there. And I will mention for the Milwaukee Brewers, yeah, Christian Yelich definitely should have been in the All-Star game. Minnesota Twins. I mean, this is a team that's leading the AL Central, barely above 500. And this is going to be a two-parter here. First off, do the Minnesota Twins even deserve to be in the playoffs with the way they're performing? Do they even deserve to have a playoff spot to be clinched for them? And the second part, the Minnesota Twins, Sonny Gray, is he going to get dealt once again? Because I feel like that's Sonny Gray 2.0. Like, every time he is great, he gets dealt to another team, performs terribly, leaves, goes to that another team, performs great, gets traded, does terrible, and the cycle repeats. I mean, you're Yankees fans. You obviously know who Sonny Gray is. So to me, it's kind of a two-part question. Do the Twins deserve to be in the playoffs? And is Sonny Gray going to get traded after this great all-star performance in Minnesota? And we'll start with Jay.
Oh, I mean, the highest batting average on your team is what? 226. That's Carlos Correa, who nobody wanted. Who nobody want? Like, I mean, like, think about it. Like, nobody wanted Carlos Correa, and he's batting 226, and he's the best player on your team. I would expect Byron Buxton to be it for them, but he's playing horribly this year too. So I mean, barely above 5. Like, somebody got to win it. I guess I like my grandfather say, somebody got to win. I guess it's them.
And then the Sonny Gray part.
Oh, as far as Sonny Gray, just don't trade him to a big market team. He'll do just fine. If you send him to like Boston or New York, the other New York, he's going to implode again. Certain lights are brighter than others. Just don't send him to a big market team.
All right, Joseph, what about you?
Like Stack says, somebody's got to win that division. Unfortunately, it's putrid. And honestly, there's not much of a bright spot in Minnesota. I mean, I guess Sonny Gray because the ERA is decent, but I don't know. It's tough because I'm biased against Sonny Gray. I have a bad taste in my mouth because of Sonny Gray. I'm also a Joe Ryan fan, so I would rather see Joe Ryan in the All-Star game than Sonny Gray, but that's for a different thing. But I don't know. They don't hit well. I'm not sold on Rocco Baldelli as a manager. I love Baldelli, but I'm not sold on him as a manager. Just I don't really care for the Twins too much. They just lost. They blew another game. I don't know. It seems like that's their MO. They'll play decent for a few days and then, play average. They're an average team. Average at best. That's their ceiling. But luckily for them, so is the rest of the division.
Right.
I won't even go average.
I mean, okay. They have a bunch of stiffs in the division. They have a stiff division. There you go.
You're
So
giving them grace.
Somebody mentioned this on Twitter at SportsAngle on PR. Sonny Gray does great on an odd year, but is terrible on an even year. And if you go on baseball reference, it actually starts to back that up. Like his best years have been on an odd year, and his worst years have been on an even year.
I don't know. Maybe it's the way the moon. I don't know.
Trade him to Boston for next year then, or Toronto.
Yeah,
send them to Toronto or Boston, or
or Tampa Bay for that matter.
What?
Why is the Central in both leagues the weakest? Do no good players want to live in the Central states? I mean, you pretty much answered the question.
That's a great answer.
That actually is a really nice. I love that.
I mean, you pretty much answered the question. Yeah, pretty much.
I've been to a few Central states. She ain't lying. Talk about like corn country or something, man.
I lived in Oklahoma for 8 years. I know. Nobody knows.
Like you have to have a certain mentality to want to play in a Central.
I know. I'd still rather live there than where I live now, so I can't say nothing.
But who's like really the last superstar who wanted to play for a Central team, though? I'm trying to think about it.
Like who signed there?
Like who signed there? Like they didn't get traded, but they were like, "Hey, I want to be here." Like I can't think of one.
Bill Mauer?
No, but he was there already.
But he chose to stay too.
Yeah, he chose to stay too. That's actually
but he's from there though. He's from that area.
Oh, okay. Well,
he's a local boy. That's a different story. Now, who signed there is a big.
Maybe Dansby. Maybe Dansby.
I don't even know.
Dansby Swanson's a good one. Jason Hayward, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't feel like those are superstars though. Hey, maybe I'm wrong, but
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Chris Bryant, maybe.
But I just feel like for some reason, if you're a superstar, you either go to the West Coast or you go to the Northeast. That's pretty much where you go.
Yeah.
That's literally the only person I can think of is probably Chris Bryant right now. Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
much.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go to the Midwest. It's unfortunate. I mean, because look at the Cardinals. They had a trade for both Goldie and Arenado.
That's true. That is very true.
So this will be telling, because if Arenado signs, then we might be able to change that.
Yeah.
He's not.
Now,
I know he likes
moving
it there.
over to the Northeast, though, and we'll talk about a team that does play in New York, and that is Pete Alonso being the only representative for the New York Mets. Now, Joseph, I'm going to start with you. If in April I had told you that the Mets would be under 500 and Pete Alonso would have been the only representative in the All-Star game, you would have called me insane.
Oh, yeah. Easily. You would have been crazy. I probably would have asked you what you're drinking today. Something crazy like that. But what I don't understand is, how is Alonso the All-Star? Miss all that time. I mean, I know it's 11 days, but still, the production they've got. I mean, I guess the
man has 26.
You know who I would put in All-Star game right now if I had the chance?
Who?
Francisco Alvarez. That dude is becoming one of the best.
He might break the rookie record though, set by Mike Piazza. He might break it.
Dude, he has so many clutch hits for that team. Imagine if they didn't have him.
It'd have been worse.
I mean,
some people said Francisco Lindor was a snub. I don't really think he was, but
he's not playing that great either. He has production, but look where he's batting the lineup. You better have production.
Yeah.
Maybe David Robertson. That might be the only other guy I think of.
Maybe Tomas Nido.
But to answer your question, Joe, I mean, he has 26 home runs. That's why.
Yeah, but
it's either a strikeout or a home run. Which one you want? Chicks dig the long ball.
He's a Met, so I want to see the strikeout.
Yeah, true.
But Jay, what about you? I mean, this Mets team, but Jay, what about you? This Mets team, man, like this is a team that was supposed to win 100 plus games this year. That was the expectation. Now they're 10 games under 500. Pete Alonso, your only representative. Max Scherzer apparently waiving his no trade clause because he wants to get out of here. So, man, what's going on with the Mets, man?
You can't buy championships. That's what they try to do. They think they're the Yankees, and this is in the 1990s. It doesn't work that way anymore. Everybody's good now. You can't just take, I'm going to take this good player, this good player. No, everybody's good. So if you take Max Scherzer, cool. For Max Scherzer is Zach Gallen. Like, there's no big skill gap anymore in the MLB. Everybody's good. So, I mean, if you try to piece a team together with your money, you're just wasting. You're throwing money in the fire.
And there you go. And speaking of money, let's talk about a team that did the money ball about 20 plus years ago. The Oakland A's, soon to be Las Vegas A's. They're going to be my team in a couple of years since I am here in Las Vegas, the sports entertainment capital of the world. Brent Rooker, he was the only all-star representative for the Oakland A's. And I like Brent Rooker, and I do think he is a solid player. But Esteury Ruiz, I'm surprised he wasn't the all-star representative, considering he has stolen like 400 stolen bases this year. Like, I think he set the all-time rookie record for most stolen bases in a month or something insane like that. So I actually think Ruiz should have been their all-star representative, but we're still talking about the Oakland A's here. I mean, they're barely going to be above the expansion Mets in terms of win-loss record by the end of the year. So, Jay, I'll start with you. The Oakland A's, they got one representative. I think it should have been Ruiz. What do you think? I mean, this is just a team that had to be there.
I mean, looking at what I'm looking at, Ruiz leads the team in batting average, but Rooker leads it in home runs and RBIs. Which one would you like? I guess it's pick your flavor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So do you want the guy who brings home the runs, or do you want the guy who's going to get on base? Who's one of the runners that he brings home? So, I mean, and it's the A's, so you can only pick one. I guess they flipped the coin.
Yeah, that's definitely what they did. Joseph, what about you? I mean, it is the A's, but we do got to talk about them since they're going to be here in Vegas soon. So
yeah, I'd probably go with Ruiz just because he's having an unbelievable year with stolen bases, and you haven't seen this probably since Ricky. But I don't hate it. I mean, Rooker did have that really nice month early in the season, so I'm sure that has a lot of the merit to it. But I'm a speed guy, so I'd rather see Ruiz. But whatever.
Tell the Mets to start over. Whoever made that comment, I know Yankees fans would agree with you on that.
Nah.
Yankees fans aren't scared of the Mets.
Yeah, they don't bother us. I don't have a hatred for the Mets like I do with like.
It's zero to do like the Mets could win 120 games. It doesn't matter. Like they're gonna blow it. That's what the you know what. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
But let's just say I was alive when they had a 10 game lead over the division and then blew it in 20 games.
The Phillies, 2006.
I've seen it. So until the Mets win one, then I'll be like, oh. But other than that, stop.
All right, and then the next team that we are going to talk about, and I will get into the comments in just 1 second. Philadelphia Phillies, a team that went to the World Series last year. Nick Castellanos. Of course, I can make the meme, and there's a fly ball straight to left center by Nick Castellanos. But I will say him being the only representative for the Philadelphia Phillies after making it to the World Series. People were saying JT Real Muto, but I feel like he really hasn't had that great of a year. I know he's a fantastic catcher, but he hasn't had that amazing of a year. So is there anybody else in the Phillies that you really could have had in this All-Star game? I'll start with Joseph.
Nah. They're lucky they even have Castellanos in the All-Star game.
Really? You wouldn't make a case for Bone?
Nah. I like Bohm, but I don't see him as All-Star material, to be honest. Unless you want to water down the All-Star game some, which they are doing. So I guess you're right. But I don't know. I like Castellanos, but All-Star? No. But what's your other choices? Really?
I mean, you had two Las Vegas guys. You have Bryson Stout and you have Bryce Harper. So,
but I thought rule of thumb is if you bat plus 300, you're pretty much guaranteed in an All-Star game, right?
Not these days.
Not these days. These days, it doesn't matter.
You could bat like 205 as long as you hit bombs like Gallo. You probably make the All-Star team. Oh wait, that's happening.
I just said, in my head, if you're batting over 300, you're shooing for the All-Star game.
Yeah, we're dinosaurs though.
I'm just thinking logically.
We're dinosaur thinkers nowadays. We're not analytic driven.
Now, for all the people watching on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn notification bell. Here are some of the comments. The Cardinals are goated.
Where?
I mean, the Cardinals are goated at winning World Series titles once every decade. I'll give them credit there. They won a World Series in the 2000s. They won a World Series in 2010, so I'll give them credit there. We just took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Great. 2 out of 3 against the Yankees who were down. They just played Oakland. They were probably still hungover from celebrating Herman's perfect game.
Vegas overpaid for Ivan Barbashev. Hey, we have a hockey show here on PR Connections Radio Monday through Friday. If you want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, we could definitely talk about that on another show. But yeah, okay, you want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, we'll do that another time. This is baseball we're talking about here.
Hey.
De La Cruz is going to revive the Central.
He already did. He's must-see TV. Must-see TV.
Yeah, we'll see. I always like to give people more than like 20 games. I have to see more, bigger sample size. But that's just me.
Just saying, there's certain players where you see him, you're just like,
you see the tools. You see the tools.
Yeah, he's it.
They're there. He's there. It's just, I get what you're saying. He could always have a catastrophic injury, and then we don't talk about it anymore. So it's always.
Sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, Joseph. Mookie Betts just hit another home run. He has 2 for the game.
I'm about to see it right now on Big Inning. There it goes.
And apparently this person lived in Bartlesville, Oklahoma for 3 years.
Hey, I lived in Tulsa. What's up?
You live in Tulsa? Oh, there you
I
go.
used to live in Tulsa, yeah.
There you go. Now, continuing with the MLB All-Star Game conversation, Pittsburgh Pirates, them having Mitch Keller and David Bednar, only two good, solid pitchers for the Pittsburgh Pirates. If O'Neal Cruz hadn't gotten hurt, maybe the hype around him would have gotten him in the All-Star Game. But him getting injured kind of diffused that. So, Jay, I'll start with you. Pittsburgh Pirates, they had such a great start to the year. Then they fell off a cliff in June. So them having two all-star players, kind of surprising. David Bednar and Mitch Keller.
Surprising? The Pirates are going to pirate. That's what they do. They give their fans hope, and then it's downhill. But they do have their pitchers are their bright spots. They just 0 run support.
Yeah,
that's just what it is.
Yeah, I will say, David Bednar, you are on my fantasy baseball team, however, so if you continue doing what you're doing, that would be great. Joseph, what about you? Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller finally living up to the hype. I mean, a couple years ago, he was supposed to be that great pitcher for them, finally living up to it. And David Bednar, a solid reliever.
I'm okay with both of them making the team. You were talking about fantasy. I got both of them on my team too. So, but I have no issues with either of them making the All-Star team. I love the stuff Bednar has. And I'm happy for Mitch Keller, man. I labeled him a bust, so I'm happy he overcame that, man, because he looks really good.
Yeah, and then we got a couple of teams left to talk about with the MLB All-Star Game. Are the guys afraid of them? Who? I'm trying to figure out who that is. I need a little bit more.
He has a St. Louis Blues picture. I'm definitely not afraid of the Blues. My team won 2 chips after you won, so I'm good.
Wait, hold on. Are you a Lightning fan?
Yeah, yes, he is.
Since day one, since day one of the league, of the team.
Well, hey, I am a Vegas Golden Knights fan, and we just won a Stanley Cup. So
I'm happy for y'all. I pull for y'all, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations, because that's actually pretty cool.
Jake Berger is the best third baseman in the league right now.
Absolutely not.
Huh? I mean, he's got some prodigious power. He probably eats a lot of hamburgers,
but I don't know about the best. I mean, he definitely.
Nah, man, this is guy in St. Louis.
As long as Nolan Arenado puts on cleats and a glove, he'll be the best third baseman in baseball.
So what he was talking about when he said, "Are the guys afraid of them?" He was talking about we just took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. That's what he was alluding to.
Why would I be afraid of the Cardinals? The Cardinals probably won't even get to 500 this year. Come on, Carlos Marmol is their manager.
Spent many weekends in Tulsa to escape Bartlesville. Great place to escape. There you go. Hey, there you go.
Yeah, but nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to play for Kansas City.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. My school plays Oklahoma in Oklahoma this year, and I'm not even gonna think about going. That place got me turned off so much.
Yeah. That is him in the pic, though. If that is you in the picture, that is cool, though. You're getting the suit up in blues and everything. That's cool.
That's pretty dope. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Am I afraid of them? No, absolutely not. He just asked, "Am I afraid of them?" No.
Oh, because you're a Cubs fan.
Yeah, me being a Cubs fan, no, I'm not afraid of them. You guys annoy me more than being afraid. So.
Yeah, they have the self-proclaimed best fans in baseball, but they lead by the 7th inning.
And I realize we're going to maybe run out of time, so we'll definitely have to do these last 2 teams and then start to wrap it up here. Now, KC is a dump riddled with Taylor Swift fans right now. I'm not going to go there just because of I'm not going to go there. San Diego Padres, Juan Soto, Josh Hader for the San Diego Padres. So many people expected more from them this year. Really have been a collapse for
underachievement at its finest.
Underachievement, overrated,
Even though my favorite player on the Padres, Xander Bogaerts, I was always a huge fan of him in Boston. I like him in San Diego. I like his talent. But even then, he just can't save his team. So, Joseph, what about you, San Diego? I mean, this team's just very underwhelming.
I'm not shocked. They have a lot of overrated dudes on that team. I think Juan Soto is one of the most overrated players I've seen in a long time. He had a nice breakout, but the league figured him out, and he hasn't figured out back. So he's overrated. Yeah, he can draw his walks. Great. What are you gonna do? I mean, he's a below average fielder. He has below average speed. Everybody talks like he's he's the next Ted Williams. Nah, bro. You barely can hit 300 now. Get out of here with that. The real talent on that team is Tatis.
And was he a snub? Let's just get that out of the way.
Yes, he should have been in there over Soto.
And then Jay, what about you? And then we'll get to a question afterwards.
I agree with Joseph. Juan Soto is definitely overrated. I guess the formula is once you get him to 2 strikes, throw him a curveball, he'll probably swing at it. It'll land at his knees or land at his ankles. He'll still swing at it. It's just they know the formula, man.
Right. So we have a comment here. Are you guys afraid of the Rays and the Orioles? Obviously, he's asking the Yankees fans because I don't care.
Yeah. Last year we saw the Orioles coming. We both said it. Like, these Orioles are, you can see it over the horizon that they're starting to put it together. We started talking about Gunnar Henderson, and we talked about Adley Rutschman just being the dog that he is now. Like, that's a scary team, and they're young. And with us being the Yankees, the oldest team in baseball, those young guys are hungry. And everybody wants to beat the Yankees because we're the Yankees. It's not cool having. Whoa, no, it's not. That's crazy.
That's sacrilegious.
That's blasphemous.
That's blasphemous. Yeah. And going on and let me bring up the Rays real quick. That's the team that's local to me, so I go to a lot of games. So I see them up close and personal a lot, and they have a great team. They don't have the names, but they got some studs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like is that Bader is injury prone. Other than that, I do like the trade. You weren't going to re-sign Monty anyway after the contract was up, so that's the smart thing. You might not sign Bader. You might not bring back Bader either. So it could be a wash at the end of the day. But I like the move. He had a hell of a postseason last season.
Analytically, that doesn't sound right, but you know what? Analytically, it could be. Whatever.
Probably.
Yeah, what's he doing this year?
Yeah, Monty is a baby. Okay. No, all right. San Francisco Giants, they only had one representative, Camilo Duval, solid reliever. But, I mean, San Francisco Giants are kind of in contention for a little bit. We'll see what they do at the trade deadline. Any thoughts on San Francisco, Jay?
They're my pick to honestly go to the playoffs. Jock Peterson starting to put it back together. I mean, they need a little bit more pitching, but I feel like they'll be all right. I feel like they'll probably be a wild card, surprising people.
Yeah. Joseph, what about you?
I love Doval, so I'm happy he made it. I can see that team making a move or two to boost later, but it's hard. You got 2 good teams in front of them in that division. So it's hard to really make a real observation with them because it's like, yeah, you can get better, but the Dodgers are going to take it up a notch. And I don't see Diamondbacks going away.
All right. And I will say, by the way, he mentioned that I don't want Contreras catching me. Well, hey, Willson Contreras is not a great catcher. So I would say I wouldn't want him catching me either. And I'm saying this as a Cubs fan. So Seattle Mariners, they had J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez, Luis Castillo, and George Kirby. Now, we all know that during the All-Star game, the home team, they obviously get a few more players than they probably would normally. So, Jay, what about you when it comes to Seattle Mariners, them getting J-Rod, Castillo, and Kirby? What do you think about that?
I think it's rightfully earned. I mean, J Rod is J Rod Castillo. He's flamethrower. He's having a pretty decent year. I mean, I don't see. I mean, I guess you could make it say George Kirby, maybe not, but like you said, the hosting team gets. I mean, the hosting town gets the spoils of the All Star game. So
You're on mute.
What about you,
Yeah.
Joseph?
All right, so this is gonna be an unpopular opinion. I do not think J. Ross should be in the All-Star game. I just think he's regressed this season. But it's a whole team thing, though. But I get it. He's the star player of that team. You want him there. It's the home game for them. Whatever. So you're gonna put your star there. But if it was in any other city, he ain't an All-Star.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm going to go to one last team, and that is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, St. Louis Cardinals, Nolan Arenado. We already talked about that earlier in the show. But Tampa Bay Rays, Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, Wander Franco, he got in, rightfully so. He should have been in the first time. And then Shane McClanahan. So we got about 2 minutes left in the show. I'm being told that I have to wrap it up. But when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays, that's going to be the last team we're going to talk about. Joseph, I'll start with you. What do you think about the Tampa Bay Rays?
They're a great team. They're the best team in the American League. I mean, seeing them up close and personal and watching every game, it's a sight to see because you don't think of these guys as all-stars, but really the biggest travesty, I think, was Wander Franco not getting in the first time. But that's for another day. Yeah, I'm so glad to see Yandy Diaz make it because that dude is a tough-nosed player. I like watching him play. I'm glad he put it together. His thing was he stopped swinging for the fences and became more of a line drive hitter, and it seemed to work for him. And these, they just plug and play with that team so much. You take out Kiermaier. All right, Siri's going to lead your team in home runs. They're just dangerous no matter what. And they got more guys coming.
Yeah. All right. And then, Jay, what about you?
they're the best team with the best farm system in baseball. Yeah. That's all I got to say. Joe's already said it. Take one player away, they have another one to plug right in. And they won't miss a beat.
All right. And that is my cue that we have to start wrapping up the show. And for the person that's in the chat asking about the caller, yes, we do take callers on this show, but we do have a rule within the last 5 minutes of this show. We don't take callers just because of time and everything. Now, I will say to everyone watching around the world, this is the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. I want to say thanks to Jay and Joseph for coming on the show, talking about the MLB All-Star Game. That was fantastic. And for all people watching around the world, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notifications. So, until next time, this is the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice